Bustin' mad like inside the dark, call me Bill Snatcher. Just the brother for the rapture. I hang live, holding on strong, hard to capture. Extravagant, resurrect the track and it's militant. And I react like a garden and start killing. It's manifesting. The God's work like appliances, dealing in my psyche.
Could you die for the sake of Konoha is a question that Sasuke asked Boruto in chapter 48 of the manga, a question that in hindsight is one that is shaping up to be the cornerstone moment of the entire Boruto story. It will begin the moment where the boy who was a spoiled brat that appeared to know all the flashy aspects of what it means to be a ninja, but he didn't truly understand what it means to actually have the heart of a ninja. That boy was now dying and on the path towards being reborn into being a proper Konoha shinobi. The journey that Boruto Uzumaki has taken to becoming the ninja who Konoha can be proud of is a long one, but looking back at it, at all the key moments that led to Boruto allowing Kawaki to kill him in the manga, all those moments were needed for us to come to the conclusion that the Boruto we knew before is dead and has now been reborn into the Boruto Uzumaki who we were introduced to in the flash forward sequence where he told Kawaki, "Even so, I'm still a ninja." Boruto Uzumaki had the privilege of being blessed by the genetic gods. His father, Naruto, was a distant relative of the Senju clan, and though Boruto's chakra reserves aren't anywhere near as high as his father's, Boruto's chakra reserves are still considered to be larger than normal. His mother, Hinata Hyuga, came from Konoha's strongest clan, the Hyuga clan, and Boruto from a young age, according to the light novels, was trained directly by his mother Hinata, his aunt Hanabi, as well as other members of the Hyuga clan, while also getting occasional direct training from Naruto before he became Hokage and shortly after Naruto became Hokage. Add that to the fact that he's inherited his father Minato's genius IQ, and Boruto seemingly seemed to have all the tools that were needed to be great. It almost felt as if he was destined to become overpowered. However, despite Naruto purposely choosing not to stay in a more upscale home, which according to the Parent and Child Day novel was something that was an option for Naruto as Hokage, and as the husband of the heiress of the Hyuga clan, Naruto chose to raise Boruto and Himawari in a rather modest home. However, due to Boruto having an abundance of luxuries at his disposal, he ended up becoming the spoiled brat that so many fans hated when they were first introduced to him in 2017 when the anime first aired, which ironically was the intention by Masashi Kishimoto, who came up with the concept of bratty Boruto in 2015's Naruto Gaiden manga, where Boruto transformed slightly from what we saw in Naruto chapter 700 and later on what we would see in the Boruto movie where Boruto's full-on brat mode. The reason why this is so important is a kid who never wanted or needed for anything, never had to struggle because everything either came very easy to him or he was so clever that he could find the shortcuts to getting the results he wanted long before he ever had to use ninja tools. It showed that at the time, even though Boruto possessed all the key aspects of being a ninja, he wasn't truly ready to become a ninja, and this was highlighted during the academy graduation once Kakashi got a first-hand look at Boruto. While Kakashi had seen Boruto in the past, years before he joined the academy, this time was different than all those other times. Being able to see a talented ninja hopeful that had the clear markings of being a prodigy despite being born during an era of mostly peaceful times, it made sense for Kakashi to test Boruto. He told Boruto if he was willing to break his arm, then he'd be able to escape the submission hold that Kakashi had him under. To a lesser trained eye, that moment might seem cruel, it might seem barbaric to some, but way back during Boruto's time at the academy, Kakashi was trying to teach a then 11-year-old Boruto an important lesson about being a ninja and was indirectly asking Boruto the very same question that Sasuke did in Boruto chapter 48. Sasuke asked if Boruto give his life in service of the village. Kakashi merely asked, was his resolve strong enough to break his own arm in order to achieve his goal? The reason being is if a ninja seemingly wasn't willing to break their own arm as a last-ditch effort to reach their desired outcome, what would they do when faced with a true life or death situation where they might need to give their own life or sacrifice a comrade in order to protect the village? We've seen this to a degree in other aspects of the Naruto story, like where the Raikage not only was willing to sacrifice his own arm to attack Sasuke, but he was willing to give up a leg in the hopes of dishing out a killing blow to the person he viewed as being a Akatsuki member who killed his brother Killer B. A ninja, a true ninja, does not hesitate in that moment, regardless as to if there might be lasting effects to themselves, potentially even deadly effects to themselves, in order to achieve a desired outcome for a goal that is bigger than themselves. As we all know, Boruto's resolve wasn't there. However, even after time passed and a now 12-year-old Boruto was now being introduced to Sasuke during the versus Momoshiki arc and beginning the process of truly understanding what it meant to be a ninja, there was still a lot left to be desired by Boruto. Yes, Boruto is insanely talented, but talent alone does not make somebody a ninja. It's why in the Boruto movie and in the manga, when Boruto boasts about having 3 changes in chakra nature, Naruto gets frustrated and looks over at Konohamaru out of annoyance at the behavior of Boruto's own son, because it was a clear sign that Konohamaru hadn't taught Boruto what it truly meant to be a shinobi. It was to an extent an indictment on Konohamaru as a sensei. It's why Boruto during the tuning exams, when truly pressured, he crumbled more than once. During size tests, he would have failed if it wasn't for the quick thinking of Sarada and Mitsuki. During the capture of the flag test, his arrogance arguably led to him almost losing his team's flag, with Boruto in the movie resorting more than once to using ninja tools to secure his team's flag. Boruto hadn't grasped that the tools a ninja uses doesn't make them a ninja. Their power doesn't make them a ninja. It was something else altogether, something that he hadn't been able to comprehend yet, which is ironic given he's a 12-year-old genius. However, Boruto during the battle with Momoshiki, as he witnessed the Kages, the literal strongest people from their villages, fight alongside Naruto and Sasuke, Boruto began to see that being a ninja is more than having skill and possessing a quick genius level wit that Boruto possessed. If that were the case, Boruto would have been moved up the ranks a lot faster, a direct promotion from the Hokage. After all, 11-year-old Boruto, according to Kakashi, had easily reached the skill level of a Chunin. In the Boruto movie novelization, Boruto and Sarada were being directly compared to Jonin before they even took the Chunin exams. However, none of that matters when talking about what it means to be a ninja, which is why Boruto witnessing the Kage battle was so crucial, as well as his own willingness to learn from Naruto afterwards. A ninja's resolve to put the village first no matter the cost. Their resolve to keep the picture that's bigger than themselves and to push through the dark times was something that Boruto should have learned during that Kage battle. But our lovable boy wonder genius didn't quite grasp that lesson. It's why all the missions afterwards from the battles in the Stone Village, where Boruto once again had to learn from an older shinobi, was brought into play. Onoiki, the former Tsuchikage. While he and Boruto trapped together, he indirectly tried to teach Boruto about what it means to be a shinobi. Though Onoiki's path at the time was misguided, there was still a lesson to be learned from him during the time that Boruto spent with him. During the Lemon arc, again, someone tried to teach Boruto the fact that a shinobi has to make difficult decisions or have difficult decisions made for them. Sometimes you have to sacrifice something precious to you for the greater good, which for Konohamaru, it was losing someone that he clearly had developed strong romantic feelings for and having to forego a potential future with her. Once again, either directly or indirectly, an older shinobi attempted to teach Boruto what it means to be a shinobi, but in this case, watching someone else go through a sacrifice like that and having to experience it, it isn't the same thing. The time travel arc again saw Boruto once again have an older shinobi attempt to teach Boruto what it means to be a ninja. This time it was Jiraiya training Boruto, and ironically it was a 13-year-old Naruto who was teaching his future son what it means to be a ninja. This time the investment was there because Boruto had literal skin in the game. This was his father. There was no telling what might happen if his father had the QB chakra extracted from him by Urashiki and Naruto would have died. Would Boruto suddenly be aborted when it comes to the timeline? Failure wasn't an option for him. However, during this time, Jiraiya spoke to Boruto about the pain that Naruto endured. Boruto saw firsthand how his own father couldn't control the power inside of him, and he saw firsthand how shinobi has to play with the cards that they're dealt, which ties us back to the lessons that Kakashi and Sasuke tried teaching him. Can you give your life for the village? Sasuke had asked him. Will you break your arm if it's the only path forward? Kakashi had asked him. What if the only card, the only option available to you, were to give your own life for the greater good? Can you bring yourself to endure and play such a card, even if that comes with such a high price. The encounters with Naruto and Jiraiya were meant to teach him that a ninja doesn't get to complain about the cards that they're dealt. They find a way to make it work, or to use an extreme example like I personally like to use in my personal life, they find a way to take shit and turn it into the sugar that's needed to make lemonade, even if it means delayed gratification, harder work, and thinking outside the box. Over and over, Boruto was being positioned to learn from older ninjas the lessons that would be needed to answer the questions that Kakashi and Sasuke had presented to him. A boy so talented and who had all the tools on paper to be a ninja was missing what it truly meant to be a shinobi. The answers to those questions were something that Boruto hadn't truly gained yet, which is why fate intervened during the car actuation arc in the form of Victor and Deepa. Boruto hadn't gained the answer to Kakashi's question of breaking his arm if it means accomplishing a goal that's bigger than yourself, and fate would force Boruto to learn that answer the hard way. Deepa absolutely destroyed Team 7 in the first fight to the point of outright trolling them and leaving them near death, showing that for a team of prodigies, there was still room for each of them to grow. Boruto's takeaway from this was, I need to go stronger, which it was true, but it was a surface level take and it wasn't the answer that fate was looking for. A shinobi is always going to seek to improve themselves, whether it be their taijutsu or their ninjutsu, or they're training their physical bodies and then meditating in order to raise their spiritual energy, which when done in conjunction can raise your chakra levels. Ninja, by their very nature, are meant to evolve, but that's not the lesson to take away from here. Can you break your arm for an outcome that's bigger than yourself? Fate had now placed Boruto in a position with the compression Rasengan in order to answer that question. It's a forbidden jutsu that does harm to the user. Boruto risks destroying his own arm in the process if it's used to its full extent. Fate positioned Boruto at age 13 to finally gain the answer to Kakashi's question that was asked of Boruto when Boruto was only 11 years old. During the rematch against Deepa, Boruto had no choice but to use his compression Rasengan, knowing full well the damage it could do to his arm. It was his only way forward to bring down the car and a member who posed a greater threat to the ninja world, and when the time came for Boruto to use that jutsu, he didn't hesitate. Fate rewarded Boruto's answer by having Sarada lend her strength and Mitsuki lend his sage transformation power to Boruto as they attacked Deepa so Deepa could be brought down. The boy who was too scared to break his own arm for an outcome bigger than himself had now crossed the threshold to at least being willing to do that much. He was getting that much closer to becoming a ninja. However, fate would begin preparing Boruto to learn the answer to a question that he wouldn't be able to give to Sasuke months later in the timeline when Ishiki invaded Konoha. Just after Hinata's birthday in December, the events of the Owl arc would take place. While Boruto hadn't yet been asked by Sasuke if he could give his life for the village, fate was already giving Boruto the answer to a question that he hadn't been asked yet. Mujino didn't hesitate to give his life in order to stop Owl and allow his comrades to escape. Mujino understood there are some things bigger than his life. While nobody truly wants to die, when the time comes, a ninja must be prepared to give their life at a moment's notice when they least expect it in order to protect the village. Fate would again teach Boruto this lesson after the battle with Owl. Owl might have fallen off the ninja way. Being seduced during a time of vulnerability by Victor and the technology of Car, Owl died as a shinobi after being brought back onto the ninja path by Boruto. Owl showed Boruto that even dying to preserve your own dignity as a shinobi, dying as a shinobi was the only true way to leave this earth behind. That was a lesson that Owl taught to Boruto. Fate gave Boruto the answer to Sasuke's question, but the pampered child genius hadn't connected the dots yet. It's why when he was forced in a position to use the lesson Kakashi taught him, which is when there's only one option available, a ninja must be willing to go through with that decision regardless of the pain it might require. Boruto knew enough to grab his kunai, but his resolve wasn't strong enough during the Ishiki battle. While breaking an arm is less extreme than slicing your own throat, the answer to Kakashi's dilemma still applies. A ninja has to endure pain, sometimes fatal pain, if it's the only option to protect the village from something bigger than themselves. Boruto was on his way to being a shinobi, but he was still a child and too selfish to take his own life. Boruto was shown hesitating, and those few moments of hesitation are crucial here. Now, I don't say selfish in a negative way. His reaction as a child is to be expected. Your future is before you. You have so many hopes and dreams that will go unachieved if you go through with this decision. However, this is the cruel reality of the Naruto world. When a child puts on a headband, they're expected to behave not as children, but as shinobi, as full-fledged adults, which we've seen in other cases. Itachi, at the same age as Boruto, at the age of 13, was positioned to learn similar lessons, to learn the path of the shinobi and the hardships that come with it. Just as Mujino died for his comrades, Shisui died with the intent of giving Itachi the power needed to protect the village. Itachi at age 13 was forced to use that power that Shisui's death granted to him to kill his entire clan for the sake of the village's security. With his own hands, he was forced to kill his lover Izumi Uchiha via genjutsu, which I've covered in a video on this channel, how Itachi killed his lover. He was forced to kill mothers, children, and most tragically, even his own father, who raised him to be his heir, and the mother who literally brought his life into the world. The 13-year-old boy, who was once seen as the pride of the Uchiha, who, according to the Itachi novels, was viewed by some as being a potential Uchiha Hokage one day, was forced to put the village over that very same clan. Boruto was willing to risk his arm to save Sasuke from the chakra cube, but he also knew that Ishiki needed to keep him alive. He expected Ishiki to call out the attack before Boruto could be crushed by those cubes. It was a gamble, but it wasn't a gamble made by someone expecting to die there. If it were, moments later, he wouldn't have hesitated when he threatened to kill himself. The kunai in his hands, they were shaking. Boruto was sweating. That's not a knock on Boruto. He did raise his kunai to his throat. He did start the process of thrusting that kunai into his throat, but it was with shaking hands and a sweaty face. It was a scared boy who realized this is what it means to be a shinobi, and he was willing to go through with that action, but his heart clearly showed just how complex the situation was for him. Boruto knew what it meant to be a shinobi, but his heart hadn't been fully steeled yet. In contrast, by the time he fought Kawaki, there were no shaking hands. There wasn't a sweaty face. Boruto knew his life had to end, and that was the only card he had left to play. Just as Kakashi tried to teach him, there comes a time where the only option left is a painful one, and just as Sasuke told him that a shinobi has to be willing to give their life for the village, this Boruto now, by not sweating, by not shaking in fear, but rather calmly telling Kawaki to kill him, this Boruto was now a true shinobi. Ending his life was the only path forward for him, and it was a decision he didn't hesitate to make. It showcased the growth of Boruto Uzumaki. Boruto had finally given the answer to the question that Sasuke asked him, and he'd done so with an unwavering resolve, evident by his calm demeanor. And now fate rewarded Boruto by having Momoshiki convert the 18% of his remaining data into Boruto's tissue in order to rebuild Boruto's heart and keep him alive. The Boruto we knew before was dead, and the one who was being reborn was now a true shinobi, which makes his words in the flash forward sequence of chapter 1 hit that much harder now. Boruto said to Kawaki, "I'm still a ninja." It might have taken us a while to get there, but nobody can say now that Boruto isn't truly a ninja in every sense of the word. He's shown himself being worthy of Sasuke's successor as being Shadow Hokage, which is why Sasuke gave Boruto his headband permanently. However, that's gonna be it for this much long overdue video essay on Boruto. Up next, I'm gonna be covering Kawaki, Itachi, and Madara in no specific order, so keep notifications turned on for those videos. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.